So for the longest time, I have been one of those people who have been saying that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are definitely coming in to save Star Wars, that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni can not only save the future of Star Wars, but can also save the past, because we've had those rumors from Grace Randolph, a lot of reports from a lot of other reliable people. Say what you want about Grace Randolph, but her leaks have been pretty spot on. I know a lot of people say that they aren't, but they are. She has been pretty good when it comes to her reports, and obviously every scooper out there is going to get stuff wrong, but it's about getting more right than you get wrong. And I think Grace gets a pretty good amount of stuff right, especially a lot of out there stuff that people first hear and they're like, yeah, right, that's never going to happen, and then they end up happening. And Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni moving over to the movie side of things is something that she reported recently, and I got really excited about. I said that, not only can they do this Mandoverse stuff where they save the future of Star Wars, and going forward Star Wars is going to be really good, Star Wars is on an uptrend and everything like that, but also I said, I think, because the other reports were saying that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are going to do episodes 10, 11, and 12, and a lot of people were like, oh no, that the future of Star Wars is ruined. Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, the saviors, are giving in. They're going to do the sequel trilogy to the sequel trilogy and stuff like that. I actually think that was a good thing. I thought that was a good thing. Now I'm not so sure, but I actually thought that was going to be a good thing. I thought they could save the past of Star Wars as well. They could actually improve on the sequel trilogy that we got, 7, 8, and 9, improve on the legacy of all of those characters, improve those characters going into the future, because Rey Skywalker could be in there. I know people hate, Rey Skywalker, Rey Palpatine, or whatever, but Kylo Ren was rumored to be in it as well. I don't know if he's going to come back to life or as a Force ghost, but he was rumored to be in it as well, and he was a definite saving grace for me when it comes to the sequel trilogy. And the reason why I hate episode 9 more than any other Star Wars movie ever, and never will probably hate anything more than that, is because of the character assassination of Kylo Ren. But I was saying that I thought that they could not only save the legacy of the sequel trilogy and the sequel trilogy characters, but also save the legacy of Disney Star Wars and even Kathleen Kennedy if they were to improve upon the sequel trilogy enough. I think that was kind of wishful thinking. I think I was giving them too much credit, because after seeing the Book of Boba Fett, I know a lot of people out there like it, and I'm really happy that you guys are able to like it. But for me personally, I just think that maybe this new Star Wars just isn't for me. Maybe they got really lucky with The Mandalorian, because even when I was watching The Mandalorian, season 1 and season 2, there's a lot of episodes that I was just like, I don't like that. I don't think that was good. And then I would go on Twitter and everyone would be like, oh, this is amazing. This is the Star Wars that we always wanted. And I'm like, what are you talking about? We just saw a giant spider chasing around Mando and a frog lady. Like, what are you talking about? This is the Star Wars that we always wanted. When I picture the Star Wars that I always wanted, it's stuff like the prequel trilogy. It's a lot of lightsabers, a lot of Force users and stuff like that. But then there was moments in The Mandalorian, like episode 3 of season 1, where all the Mandalorians come out and save Mando from, Carl Weathers' character, Grief Karga. And I just, that hooks me in, man. I love when stuff like that happens, or Boba Fett shows up, or that Ahsoka episode in season 2. It's a masterpiece. That Ahsoka episode is an absolute masterpiece. Shout out to Dave Filoni for directing that episode. He did great. But then he also directed, I believe, episode 5 in season 1, and it was the worst episode of The Mandalorian, in my opinion. It was really, really bad. So there's been huge ups and huge downs when it comes to the Mandalorian universe, but it just seemed like the ups far outweighed the downs. But for the Book of Boba Fett so far, there have been really no ups for me, except for the first about 13 to 15 minutes of episode 2, where Black Chrysanthemum shows up and the twins show up and stuff like that. Sorry if you're worried about spoilers, but you should have seen the episode by now. But when those guys showed up, I thought that was really cool. I really was enjoying that first 13 to 15 minutes, and then he got in the back of the tank, and for the next 45 minutes to 50 minutes of the episode, I was bored out of my mind, and I was just hoping that the episode would end. And it's just not looking good for the future of Star Wars for me personally. Obviously, a lot of people out there are loving that episode. I wish I could. I don't understand how you're liking it that much. I wish I could like it that much. But if they're gonna do stuff like this in the future, maybe it went to their head. Maybe there's too much power now with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, to where they're just like, let's just do all this. Let's have a lizard jump up Boba Fett's nose. We can do whatever we want. Let's just make Boba Fett trip on acid. And I don't even know what the purpose of that was, but apparently there was a purpose. Apparently people loved that. So maybe it's just me. But regardless, my opinion is the only thing that I'm worried about. And whenever I'm really, really disliking a show that the people who I thought was going to save Star Wars is creating, that makes me very worried, and it should make you worried as well if you're not liking the Book of Boba Fett either, because there are a lot of people out there who are disliking the Book of Boba Fett. I know Echo Base Network are also really not liking the Book of Boba Fett, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with loving the Book of Boba Fett either. In fact, I envy you, and I wish I could love this show as much as I love, because I saw Star Wars Theory say that he loved episode 2 of the Book of Boba Fett more than chapter 16 of The Mandalorian. And if you don't know what chapter 16 of The Mandalorian was, that's when Luke Skywalker showed up. That's the season 2 finale. So if he can like it that much, Why can't I like the show? It really worries me because, like I said, I didn't love every episode of Mando either, but then, you know, crazy stuff would happen. Like the Darksaber would show up at the end of season 1. Luke Skywalker would show up at the end of season 2. You know, crazy stuff would happen like that at the end of each season, or at the end of certain episodes. Like episode 1 of The Mandalorian season 1, I wasn't in love with it. I thought it was cool. You know, I felt like a Clone Wars episode or something, but then Baby Yoda shows up and saves the day and gets me just so hooked and watching all the videos, watching all the reaction videos, speculating like crazy. Nothing like that is happening for the Book of Boba Fett. I don't have any interest in watching any reaction videos to the Book of Boba Fett because nothing is happening in these episodes to further the plot or further the story of Boba Fett. All we know now is that he was a Tusken Raider, which we already knew because he had a gaffy stick in season 2 of The Mandalorian. You know, we already knew that. So it's just boring to me, and the audience score says the same. And even the critic score is not too good. 86% is not great. It's not bad, and I'm not going to try and say that's bad, but 75%, it's pretty bad, and it's gone up ever since episode 2 came out because a lot more people like episode 2 than episode 1, but 75% is not good. And if you go to this Forbes article, which they've destroyed the Book of Boba Fett multiple times on Forbes, at least someone out there agrees with me. At least I know I'm not just absolutely insane. Maybe Star Wars just isn't for me going forward, but at least I know I'm not insane. You know, at least Forbes is agreeing with me. Echo Based Network is agreeing with me. A Common Idiot, shout out to Matt, is also agreeing with me. At least I know I'm not just, you know, insane. You know, at least my mind is still there. Even though it would suck if Star Wars just isn't for me going forward, at least I know that I'm not crazy. But this article says the Book of Boba Fett has worse reviews than all Star Wars and Marvel shows so far, and it compares the Rotten Tomato scores right here. And as you can see, this was back when episode 1 first came out, so we'll just change this number to 75 and this number to 85. But in comparison to The Mandalorian, look at those scores. 93% critic, 92% audience, and by the time the Book of Boba Fett is over, maybe it, like Robert Rodriguez said, a Luke Skywalker type cameo was coming in every single episode. That's impossible. It's literally impossible unless Luke Skywalker, or really only Luke Skywalker can show up and it's a Luke Skywalker like cameo. It's not gonna happen. I don't think he's gonna show up at all, but maybe, you know, Han Solo will show up. Black Chrysanthemum, I guess, was his Luke Skywalker type cameo in episode 2. I don't know what he was talking about. That was he way overpromised and way underdelivered so far when it comes to this show. But 93 and 92 for season 1 versus the 83, or I guess 86 and 75 for audience. And then Mandalorian season 2, 94 and 90 versus Boba Fett's 86 and 75. It's really bad. And by the end of Book of Boba Fett, maybe they'll be up there with Mando. I really hope so. I really hope this show is just as good, if not better. But I was expecting something more from these first 2 episodes, especially because there's only 7 episodes total in the season versus Mando, where there was 8 episodes in each season. And this is really, you know, the pacing of these shows, of both of them, of Mando and Book of Boba Fett, are more like a show with 25 episodes than a show with 8 episodes. And that's my main problem with it. There can't be filler episodes. And I'm not saying episode 1 or episode 2 of the Book of Boba Fett were filler, but there's definitely Mandalorian filler episodes. I don't care what you say. There's a lot of filler episodes in there. You can't have filler episodes for a show that has 8 episodes and they're only 30-minute episodes. That's unacceptable. And that was my main complaint with The Mandalorian season 1 and season 2, and a lot of other people's as well. And when Robert Rodriguez comes out and says it's going to be all killer, no filler, what I'm thinking to myself is that Robert Rodriguez heard the complaints and he's going to fix that, and they're not going to have filler episodes for the Book of Boba Fett. And it's not really filler episodes, because to have a filler episode, I think that you have to have something happen. And, you know, it has to be a sandwich. You know, there has to be one episode where something happens, one episode where nothing happens, and then another episode where something happens. There has just been nothing. It's just been a nothing sandwich. It's been all filler, which I guess means that there is no filler for the Book of Boba Fett. But anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think that Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni could still save Star Wars? Do you think the Book of Boba Fett is any good? Let me know what you think about the whole situation. Just wanted to kind of get on here and vent a little bit about the future of Star Wars and what I've been thinking when it comes to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni's fit in the future of the Star Wars universe. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you did enjoy this video, please leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. If you want to follow me on Twitter, the link to that will be in the description as well. Thank you for watching the video, and I hope to see you in the next one.